All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Matthew McLaughlin. I'm with Dido, and I'm also joined by my colleague Daniel Kari. He will be the presenter today on the topic, Optimize Your Google Apps Experience via Google Chrome. And this is a webinar that's a part of our free monthly webinar series, and we are pleased to have you join us. And we're going to go ahead and just talk about a few instructions for today's webinar here. We are using the GoToWebinar interface for today's presentation, and for those that are not familiar with this GoToWebinar interface, just give you a quick rundown on what you have to do to ask questions and minimize your main panel here. And you'll see this red arrow on the left-hand side. It's a little sidebar to your main GoToWebinar panel. This will allow you to minimize and maximize your screen here. So we recommend having it minimized during the presentation so you can view everything on the screen there. And then you can maximize it when you would like to ask a question. There are two different ways to ask a question. The very first way is to raise your hand here. You'll see this little raise hand icon. If you'd like to ask a question during today's session, you can raise your hand, and when we have a break in conversation, we'll go ahead and unmute you, and you can ask your question verbally. And the other way to ask the question is to simply enter it into the questions panel below. You can simply enter a question here. Myself and my colleagues will be monitoring that, and we'll either type your answer back to you or we'll verbally announce it and complete it that way. So just a couple of ways to ask questions there. Well, why Dido? Well, just a couple of things we wanted to mention to you about what Dido is and what we have to offer. As you can see below here, Google is the product company, and they provide us with the product of Google Apps. Dido is the service provider to this product. And when you put these two pieces together, you equal the perfect solution here. And the solutions that we can offer your organization come in the forms of project management for your deployment from start to finish, also the technical configuration of your deployment, communication and change management, which is a vital part of your Google Apps deployment, bringing your users up to speed. We can provide you with the industry's leading training there. We also offer total care support, and we also offer app development. And as you can see, with those services, we offer a great solution here. We are a Google Apps authorized reseller. Our organization will be featured at Google I/O this year in the sandbox for our Dido directory, a domain shared context tool. And we are also an authorized reseller of Google Postini services. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Daniel. All right, Daniel, take it away. Right. Thank you again.
All right, thank you, Matt. Fantastic. Welcome, everybody, to the webinar. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very excited to go ahead and get started with today's agenda. Let me just get my screen loaded here. And let's get started. So today, the way I want to set up the agenda for today is I want to frame Google Chrome around a series of questions. So let's get started by what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to answer these questions for all of you here today. So we're going to start out with why Chrome, how do I install Chrome, WIFM, meaning what's in it for me, what is the Chrome Web Store, and then finally I want to talk to you about something very exciting coming this year called Chrome OS, and I want to try to answer the question, why would you want to go with Chrome OS? Oops, I'm sorry. So let me start with an introduction to Google Chrome. Many of you have probably thought of Chrome as kind of the new kid on the block, and that's understandable. But the reality is I want to go through a little timeline here and kind of tell you a little bit more about Chrome. It was actually started in 2006 as a secret project inside Google, and it actually came from the higher-ups up at Google, from the founders themselves. They said, our entire business is all about the web. We're 100% web. We need to get our own browser to try to innovate and push innovation in the browser market. And at the time, the CEO, that was Eric Schmidt, he said, because he'd done a lot of dealing with Microsoft, you know, and there was Internet Explorer on the market, Firefox was a big player at the time, he said, I don't know if I really want to do that, but going back to that 100% web, finally the founders got this thing up and running, got it pushed, and in 2008 it came out as a public beta, and it was very controversial for some of its features at the time. which are now becoming kind of the standard in the browser market. In 2010, it actually passed 10% market share, and just recently we finally have approached version 11, which seems like a high number for a browser that's only been around for roughly 5 years, but I'll explain that a little bit later on. So, and what I want to talk to you about are a couple of tenets of why Chrome. So, and why would be these three things: speed, simplicity, and security. But I'm going to go ahead and take a little break for a minute, and we're going to do a poll. Matt?
Yes, thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and launch a quick poll here. And the question is, which browser do you use in the workplace? We'll go ahead and launch that for you here. So if you could take just a couple of seconds to go ahead and fill that out for us, it'll kind of give us a feel for what you're using in the workplace here. Excellent. Well, we're about almost 100% voted here. We gave it just a couple more seconds. Thank you again for your participation. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here. Thank you again. And I'm going to share the results with you here. And it looks like the majority of us are already using Google Chrome, so that's a good sign, and we hope that during this presentation you will find a lot of this information very useful that you can take back to the workplace and even tell some of your coworkers as well to enhance their experience. So thank you very much, and Daniel, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Matt. That's great. We've got a lot of Chrome users already here, already excited about it, and hopefully I can use some of my experience from blogging and reading about this since 2009 to kind of give you a better background. Maybe you'll go back and like Matt said, talk to your coworkers about it. So let's get started about the speed, simplicity, and security. So why Chrome? Well, when we're dealing with the browser war, so to speak, there's a lot of metrics that you can talk about that all the competing browsers will talk about. They'll say that their JavaScript is very fast. They'll say, well, this is running on WebKit and it's the most powerful. But really, we've thought about this here at Dido, and we've decided that in terms of the workplace and how you would work with Google Chrome and Google Apps, that the tab loading is probably the most important. So I've brought up a graph here that was done by Lifehacker, and that was a test with a 9-tab loading time. And you can see here that the smaller bars are actually better. And Chrome and its developer channels have actually pretty much trumped some of the competitors. So if you're going to be working in and out of a browser all day, you're going to be wanting to jump in and out of tabs. And so tab loading to us would be one of the top paramount things that you would want. There's other things like JavaScript speed with the V8 engine, but really what we wanted to show you here is the fact that tab loading is really blazing fast when you're talking about Chrome. Another thing I want to talk to you about is simplicity. Now, when this whole project was started in 2008, it went back to we're going to build a new browser. We're going to do something totally different. So one of the things that maybe since you're already using Chrome, I don't really need to explain, but they've basically taken what used to be in the old days the command bar. So you don't need a command bar anymore. When you're looking at this screenshot right here, I'm logged into my Google account. I already have everything available to me. I have my web, images, video. I can go in and change my account. I've got my account settings there with that gear. Everything's there and ready for me. The other reason for why Chrome, and this is a big one, is security. And Google's tried to be really proactive in providing the best world-class security for your browser. Since you're familiar with Google Chrome, you've probably seen this where Google's spending all this time crawling all the sites all across the web to organize all this information. And so what they've done is they've set up these blacklists so that if you actually come across a site that's blacklisted, you're going to actually have to confirm that you understand that this site can harm your computer and then proceed. There's an entire blacklist based on this. And if you're already a Chrome user, you probably have an idea of back in the day with maybe perhaps another competing browser, you had to spend a lot of time with spyware protection, with malware protection, with pop-up blockers. You don't have to do that anymore. Another thing I want to talk to you about is security. Is sandbox tabs for better security. So in Chrome, you may be familiar with this where every single tab is its own process. And what I want to do is I want to show you a little example of this. Now, many of you may be familiar, maybe you're not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift Escape here, and I've got my own task manager within Google Chrome. So just like a regular operating system, this is an operating system in of itself. So all of your tabs are its own process. So I've got a new tab open right now, and let's say we'll pretend that this tab is being troublesome. So what I can do is I can simply just end this process and kill it. If it was being a problem for me, I would just be able to close that out, and then I'm still able to use the rest of my tabs. I'm protected. Everything's protected here. My plugins are protected. So my Flash and my Google Talk, they're all separate from one another. You can find this by hitting Shift Escape. You can also go into the Tools menu here and going into your Task Manager here. What's also cool for the IT administrators out there is we've got this Stats for Nerds area here, so that opens up a new tab where you can just take a look at everything that's going on in the browser. Another thing I want to quickly take a look at, and it's on the slide, but I want to talk about the auto update in Google Chrome. So instead of constantly having to update your browser, constantly having to update your Adobe Flash, you don't have to worry about that. You can simply just go into About Google Chrome, and you'll know that you're in the newest version. You can see here I'm running a developer version, but you can see that I'm up to date, and I'm constantly up to date, because at an interval process, the browser itself is going in and looking and making sure that everything is synced up and good to go. You can even go in and look at your plugins really quickly. And you can see here everything that you're running. Now, I use probably more plugins than most, but you can see here, this is a great example right here. So my QuickTime is actually out of date, and it needs a critical security update. So if I were to go to a site that used QuickTime, and there's often sites that use video or audio that use the Windows QuickTime plugin, what will happen is I'll have a bar come down, and it will say that I can't run this until I confirm the fact that I don't have this critical security update available on my browser, and I need to probably go ahead and update it. Instead of having these obtrusive pop-ups and these messages saying I need to update, the things are just more seamless and easier for the end user. Much easier to manage. Let me go ahead and close out of this Task Manager here, and we will go back to the slides. So the next question on our agenda, well, how do I install? It seems like most of you are already familiar with the fact that Google Chrome is available for Mac, Windows, and Linux, and you can get that easily just for searching for Chrome or going to google.com/Chrome. Another exciting thing that Google has done is that they have made available an MSI with policy templates as well, so that you can enterprise deploy it, and then you have a little bit more control over, for example, the auto update features that are within Chrome. So what's in it for me? What's so special about Chrome? Well, since you're already using it, you realize that it's a little bit different than most browsers. Again, like I said, Google took the whole concept of the browser and thought about, let's change the way it's designed. Let's not go with the old way. Let's try things that are different. So adding the tabs on the top, doing things like that, just making things seem a lot more seamless, a lot more simple to use. One of those things is the Omnibox, and I've already gone in a little bit and shown you some of these URIs that you can use, such as about plugins. You can go in and use the Omnibox basically as your central command center right inside. You can see I still have that about plugins open. So the Omnibox is basically, it takes your URL bar and it takes your search bar and combines it all in one. And you can also do internal commands, like what I can do here is, let me just go back and I can do about, and you'll get a whole list of all sorts of interesting things that you can do within Chrome. You can find out more about your DNS. You can find complete listings about conflicts that you have with your modules in Chrome. You can go ahead and hit in about flags to get experimental things that you can see here. I don't have it enabled right now, but say for example I wanted to have multiple profiles. I can go ahead and enable that, do a quick restart of the browser, and then I can use more than one profile at once, all in the browser all at the same time. Likely most of you are familiar with the fact that you can simply type in a URL and it will start to find it for you. You can also use it as a search box as well, so I can simply go like that and there I am in a Google search. Very, very easy to use. The next thing I want to talk to you about is something that's pretty recent within Chrome, and that's syncing. Now, let's consider that you're using Chrome at work, and a great example of this, a great story that I have is, So I do a lot of bookmarking. I spend a lot of time using that star up there in the Omni box to go ahead and bookmark things. And sometimes I'll go home and I'll be watching TV and I need to have access to perhaps a page that I had at work. So one of those ways that I can always have access to things like bookmarks is by using syncing. So it's really easy to set up. I'm just going to real quickly head over to the wrench here and go to my options menu. And in the personal stuff area, I can set up sync. So what I can do is I can sign in with my work account. And then I get a choice. So a lot of times I don't want to sync things like extensions or passwords or even my preferences at home. Maybe I have those set up differently, but I really want to have my bookmarks. And I've got a lot of bookmarks, so I'm going to go ahead, hit OK, and that's going to set up. That might take a minute, so Matt, let's see if we can get another poll going here.
Yeah, absolutely here. We're going to go ahead and poll the audience here on one more question. And the question is, do you have Google Sync configured in Google Chrome? I'm going to go ahead and launch that. And if you could just take a few seconds to answer that, that would be great. All right, looks like we're almost at 100% voted, so thank you for your participation. We'll keep it open for just a few more seconds here. All right, excellent. I'm going to close the poll, and I'll go ahead and share the results there. And it looks like the majority of us actually do not have it configured, which is great because we showed you how to do it, and you can see how useful that feature is. So again, thank you guys for your participation. And Daniel, if you want to continue on there.
Well, that's great. You guys are Chrome users, but I have shown you something that perhaps you didn't know of or you didn't know how to configure, and hopefully you'll set that up. That's something that's pretty useful. And we'll go on. And really, at this point, I do want to mention that what we're going to be talking about now hopefully will help you extend perhaps your experience using Google Apps with Google Chrome. So that's what we want to be getting into now. One of those things that you may find useful is Incognito Mode. And I don't know if many of you already use it, but since you're already Google Chrome users, I'm going to have a feeling you might already be familiar with it. Maybe I can show you something that you can use it for that you're not familiar with. So quickly, let me explain. Incognito Mode is a way for you to, for example, if you already use chat in Google Apps, it's like a way for you to go off the record, essentially. So things like, well, let me just open this up, and it explains to you exactly what's going on when you're going into Incognito Mode. So what I can do is I can simply open a new Incognito Mode here from the wrench. Let me expand this out. And you can see what going incognito doesn't affect behavior from whatever else you're doing in the browser. So it's not going to collect any information. It's not going to store any cookies. You're not going to have any advertising that's following you around. And one of the great things that you can use it for, if you're more of a technical person, maybe you have more than one Google account, is that you can simply use this to log into another account really quickly. So what I can do here is I can show you that I am in my Dido email, and then I'll go back into this incognito mode here, and I can just type in gmail.com, and you can see here I've got a new window that I can go ahead and write in my personal account. And there I am. So there's my regular Gmail account, and so I can have both open at the same time. You don't have to constantly be switching in and out. There also are some other options to do this with account switching, but sometimes you want to have these things kind of, the work and the personal, switched up. So this is a great way to use it at lunch, or for example, if you're an IT administrator and you need to do some administration and type stuff with Google Apps. So that's useful to see. Another thing that I hear about from people, why they switch to Chrome. If they're going to switch to Google Apps, there are a few things that you can use Chrome for that you can't do with other browsers right now that is pretty exciting. One of those things is desktop notifications. I hear about this a lot from people. And this is actually an HTML5 powered notification that you can turn on right inside your inbox to let you know when you've got new mail, because we're not always going to be sitting in our Gmail accounts waiting for new things coming in. I mean, I'm sure we all wish we had jobs like that, but that's usually not really possible. So using the power of new web technology, and it's called HTML5, we can get these types of notifications that come in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly set that up. If you're not familiar with how to do that, what I can do is I can jump into my mail settings here, and right in the General tab, I can go down here, and I've got a couple of desktop notifications I can turn on. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to turn my chat notifications on because who knows who's going to try to get a hold of me right now. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and turn on that new mail notification, and then I'm going to hit save. And hopefully I will be getting something. I'm sure I'll be getting some email at some point from someone soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and so hopefully in terms of what's in it for me, you found a little bit from these examples of why you really want to be using Chrome and why it's useful for you. And I want to move on to our next question in the agenda is, what is the Chrome Web Store? Now the Chrome Web Store is something that you might not be familiar with. It's a pretty new technology, so to speak, I guess. It's been around since, I believe, early December it was released. There was a big Chrome update at that point, and it had been long rumored that there was going to be a web-based app store for Google Chrome, and that's essentially what it is. So for all you smartphone users out there or Android market people, that's what the Chrome Web Store is. It's apps for your browser. But there's three different types of software that you're going to find in the Chrome Web Store. So you're going to find apps, you're going to find actual web applications powered by new web technology. You're going to find ways to improve your browsing experience that actually extend Chrome using something called extensions. And then you can also personalize Chrome with themes. So I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk to you about extensions. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple examples of maybe some extensions that you can use with Google Apps, because that's really what we're here for, and that's what we're here to teach you about. So the first thing I want to show you, now I'm not getting anything in terms of that desktop notification. Maybe it'll pop up at some point. But for some people, those HTML desktop notifications, they might be a little bit too obtrusive. I mean, they come up from your taskbar. They're a little bit loud. And so there's an alternative to that. What we're going to do is we're going to install something called Google Mail Checker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate over to the web store. Let me close out this options tab. Let me open up a new tab here. So every time you open up a new tab, you're going to get this little shopping bag with a Chrome logo, and that's actually how you can get to the Chrome Web Store. So this is basically the Chrome Web Store here, and you can see it's there's a lot of options here. There's a lot of stuff to look at. At your own time, you can go ahead and peruse whatever your heart's desire. I certainly would encourage you to go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do is just do a quick search. It's the easiest way to find things in the web store. So I'm looking for Google Mail Checker, and I search for Gmail, and there we go. We've got Google Mail Checker. And then I'm going to go ahead and just hit install. And there it is. So it's already there. Now Google Mail Checker, what that's going to do is it's going to sit up in the upper right-hand area of your browser, and it's going to let you know. I know not everybody, again, is going to be spending all their time looking at their mailbox. You can see how many new messages you have, and even the little M icon there, the little Gmail icon, will shake and let you know when you're getting new mail. So that's pretty interesting to have there. Pretty good to have if you're spending a lot of time doing other things. Maybe you're waiting for an email. But what we're going to do right now is I've already got the desktop notifications turned on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just quickly uninstall this. So what I can do is I can go down to Tools, and I have a little extensions menu here. So what you have is you have a couple of options here. What I could do is I can simply disable it if I don't really want to use it right now. Also, you have some options always available here for you. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And what I'm simply going to do is just uninstall Google Mail Checker, and it is gone. It's as easy as that. So let me close this out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another one that I think is pretty useful to pair with Google Apps, and that is the Google Calendar Checker. Let me go ahead and install this. And so what this is going to do is if you're logged into your regular apps account, as you probably are during the day. This is going to sync up with your calendar. What you can do is you can just click on this icon, and it's going to bring up my calendar. You can see there's my calendar. And what's great about this is, I don't know about you, but I'm always jumping in and out of my calendar, and this is just way easier for me to just close this out. I can jump back in, and even better is I can see that I've got another meeting coming up in 2 hours. So whatever I'm doing, I need to be finishing up within 2 hours. And I don't need to keep jumping in and out of my calendar to find that out. It's just going to be sitting there letting me know. So those are some things that you can do with extensions. You can see here we've got a main extensions thread here that we can click on, and there's all sorts of stuff that you can try out. Real easy to try, disable, uninstall. It's really free of bloat. You have control over it. You can move in and out of it, and it really is all about extending your browser experience. Next thing I want to talk to you about are apps. So apps are relatively new to the browser. Again, using new browser technology right inside your browser, you can run all sorts of fun stuff. We're at the dawn of this age where you're going to be able to use all sorts of software right inside the browser. And what I quickly want to do is just show you one app that I think is really great that Google worked with the New York Times with, and that's the New York Times app. So let me jump back into the Chrome Web Store here. What I can do is I've got my apps up here at the top, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and enter in the New York Times. And there we go. So I can go ahead and click on this, and you know, for a lot of these, you'll be able to see what kind of rating, how many people are using it, how popular it is, and that's always a good metric. I mean, this is one of the first ones that came out, which was pretty impressive. So let me just go ahead and install that. And what that will do is it'll add an app to my app screen in the new tab page, and I'll go ahead and open this up. And what we're essentially going to get here is something that looks less like a web page and actually looks more like an application. And you can see here, this is a completely free offering from the New York Times, and it's almost devoid of advertising, which is fantastic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly go ahead and we'll click on this story here, and you can see you get a full image, you get a nice reading experience, and a little bit different than a regular web page. So I can switch through this really quickly, and it's like a full newspaper experience. There's a couple other news options. I know that there's a USA Today one. There's a great Sports Illustrated one that offers a lot of good imagery and good captivating. It's more image-based, but it's still fun to look at. It is Sports Illustrated, of course. So, and that's a good one. One thing I do want to show you, I'm going to close out of this and open up a new tab. You can see here I've tried out a couple of different apps here, but what I can do is if I'm not going to be using this, all I need to do is simply go down here and I'll hit uninstall. All right, let's head back to the slides here. And so the last thing I want to talk to you about is customizing your Google Chrome experience. I know that many of you are probably Power Gmail users, just like I am, and you want to kind of spice things up day to day. You want to make things look a little different, just like any PC experience. That's very much possible, and you can do that right inside the Chrome Web Store. So what I'm going to do is I will head right back to the main Chrome Web Store page here, and I'm going to scroll down, and we've got a little theme gallery here. So let me just expand out. I've got to make a decision here. What am I going to do? You know, I really like being in the cloud, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run with this clouds theme. So I'll go ahead and hit install. And it's a little bit bigger of a theme than normal, so it takes a minute to install. And so now I'm in the clouds, essentially. And what I can do is I can open up a new tab, and my apps window is now full of clouds. I am in the clouds. I kind of already am with Google and everything that they offer, but there it is. Of course, some of us, this is not essentially what we want to have. We want to look at all day. So I just want to quickly show you how you can go in and close that. We'll go down to the options here, and we'll go to our personal stuff, and you can see here you can quickly go back to the default theme, and of course this will be a link that will take you right back to the web store so that you can change that up. So in our agenda today, we've talked about we've now gotten to our fourth question: what is the Chrome Web Store? Hopefully, if you had not heard about it, that I have done my best to explain it to you and give you a good demo of it. It certainly is something that I encourage you to spend some time on. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go on to the next slide, and we're going
Hey,
to talk
Daniel.
about something. Yes.
We actually had a question come in, and it's a really good question. I just want to go ahead and we get some clarification on that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect. And it came right after the apps. We discussed the apps there. The question is, are these apps and other modifications actually downloaded to my computer, or are they installed on the program in the cloud?
That's a great question. And just like you've seen me, let me go back to the web store here, and the answer is that it's not really downloading anything. It's downloading a small file. Without getting too technical, it's downloading a small file, but everything is stored in the cloud. You're not really. I know it says install, but all it is it's adding something to your browser so that you can use it. It's not something that you really download, and there's a reason for that. It's funny that you'd say that, because I was about to get to the whole concept of Chrome OS and where we're going to be moving to. So in terms of the idea of it being a file that you would run on your computer, it's not like that. It's what they've done is they've tried to make it. What Google has done is they've tried to make it seem like it's software that you're kind of downloading and installing, but what it really is it is essentially in the cloud. So hopefully that answers your question. And what I'm going to do is, that's actually a great segue into where I'm going, because something that I'm very excited about, it's actually one of the primary reasons why I started really getting interested in this back in 2009, is the fact that Google is working on an operating system. They've been working on this. I first heard about it in 2009 and started writing about it, and it's called Chrome OS. So you may have heard a lot about this. I know there's a lot of publications out there like the Wall Street Journal, a lot of technical blogs, technical magazines talk about this Chrome OS. But what is Chrome OS? And I want to kind of give you a little sense of what it is and where we're going with this, especially if you're already using Chrome, you're already using Google Apps. And so this is just going to seem like something that's really going to be an awesome thing. So if you're already a Chrome user and you're already using some of these things I'm talking about, you're really pretty much ready for Chrome OS. I mean, what it is it's simply Chrome on a piece of hardware. It's the browser, and that browser experience and that lightweight experience right on a laptop or another piece of hardware. So what Google has said, and what we know, is that they plan on having it arrive in mid-2011 with devices that are going to be coming from hardware manufacturing partners, and the first two are going to be Samsung and Acer. So if you're, like I said, if you are already using some of these apps, if you're using syncing, if you're familiar with these things that I'm showing you with Chrome that are really easy and really awesome to use when compared to other browsers, it's going to really be a painless transition. It's going to be something very simple. And in terms of data, we're generating so much data these days, and especially at work, we've got so much information that we have to be worried about. With Chrome OS, there's no compromise that we have to worry about. The hardware is really no longer important because everything is stored in the cloud. As long as you keep that password for your Google account secure, if something happens to your laptop, it's going to be safe. You don't have to worry about data leaking all over the place, and it's going to be a really great benefit for companies who are concerned about data security. It being in the cloud is really going to be very beneficial. And the final thing I want to say, and that's great that we had that question, because it really is a 100% web experience. So the hardware itself, it does come with a little bit of storage space, but not the type of storage space that you see in laptops these days. I know, like, recently I got a Mac, and it came with something like 250 gigabyte of storage space, and that's not really what we're going to be dealing with Chrome OS. It's going to be less about the data. It's going to be less about files. It's going to be more about the cloud and how we can collaborate and how we can keep these things under wraps. So about 6 months ago, Google had a big conference to talk about Chrome, because we thought that it was going to come out at that point. There was going to be some big news, and there was indeed some big news. Is they came out with something called the Chrome OS Pilot Program, and they released to a special subset of early adopters and people like us who work at Dido, a unit that you're looking at right there, actually called the CR48. So it's a notebook computer that has a 12.1-inch screen and runs just Chrome OS. And I also want to point out for you technical folks out there that Chrome OS does run, it is a browser that runs on a Linux environment, but it's stripped down. So from the user standpoint, you're going to be using the browser, but there are some things that you're going to be able to do in terms of jailbreaking on the administrator end. But mostly, it's going to be something that's very stripped down, especially in the business environment. But let me go back to the CR48 for a little bit, because I do want to talk about this, because many of us here at Dido, we've been testing these devices out. They're very exciting. They're excellent for collaboration and communication, and they've been really fun to work with. And what I want to do really quickly for those of you who may not have ever seen Chrome OS is that I actually have loaded it into a virtual machine, and I'm going to go ahead and just load that up. And while I start that, that VM instance, I'm going to show you just a really quick video that I filmed. And this is a CR48, and this just shows you how quickly you can get on and off the web with Chrome OS. So let me just expand this out. And this is going to be essentially me shutting a CR48, turning it off, and turning it back on. So that's all it takes, really. You're in and out just that quickly. Now, administrators are probably saying, okay, so I can shut this off and I can turn this thing back on, but I mean, what about password protection? Well, there's going to be management tools so that when you open up that lid, it doesn't just bring you right inside the browser and you're all of a sudden in somebody else's email in the event that a device was stolen, for example. So there's going to be ways to manage that. You're going to be able to install, you're going to be able to manage these types of things, and it's going to be very easy in terms of desktop administration. So a lot of companies now, we're spending a lot of time on updating software on Windows devices or Mac machines. We have to update things, we have to administrate things, we have to go help people with configuration, especially when talking about Windows. You've got to do these registry changes, things of that nature. But what's going to happen is that the management side is going to be a lot easier for administrators. Let's see how that VM is doing here. Okay, so I've got a virtual machine here, and this is a very quick demo I just want to show you. This is basically the login screen. So what I've got here is my Dido web account. I'm just going to go ahead and log into this real quick. So what I'm doing is I'm using my, like I said, it's my Google account. It's my Dido Web Google account. And so this is a screen with apps. This is basically going to be your desktop, just like you would see on Chrome. Let me close this out here. This is just a VM. But essentially all I need to do now is I can type in gmail.com and hit enter. And I'm in my Dido mail. I don't even have to log in. So it's loading up. But it's a VM experience. It's going to be a lot faster, and it's going to be really exciting. So let me touch back on these slides here really quickly. So hopefully that answers kind of the question, why Chrome OS? Why is it going to be good? Why is it going to be exciting? And we can't wait really to get this off the ground. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. There are a couple of next steps I did want to talk to you about. Just three things. Number one, I'm kind of speechless already. You guys are already using Chrome, and that's great. If you're not using Chrome in your organization or you're an IT manager, I would encourage you to go ahead and deploy Chrome via MSI, or if you're a small organization, you could go around and install it. However you manage software right now, try to deploy Chrome. The second thing, set up Google Sync in Chrome so you can get your apps, you can get your extensions, your theme, your bookmarks, your password, whatever you feel comfortable with syncing with, so you get that same Chrome experience wherever you're using the browser. And I think that's really a neat thing that once you start using it, and for example, I've got some things synced up on my CR48 that just pop up, and it's just great. Number three is you can email us at chrome@didoweb.com, and you will get a direct link to us and what's going on with Chrome. We'll keep up to date with everything that's going on with Chrome, and whatever questions you might not have. I have a feeling we'll have a couple of questions at the end of this. I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Matt now. I know he wants to talk about a couple other communication methods that we're using here at Dido. So go ahead, Matt.
Hey, thank you very much, Daniel. Actually, I have one more poll question that I want to go ahead and ask you guys that now that Daniel has told us all about the Chrome OS. I'm going to go ahead and launch that here. And the question is, are you interested in testing Chrome OS in 2011? So if I can go ahead and get your all's feedback here, that would be great. It seems to be a really great product and very useful, and we kind of want to see what feedback we can get here. All right, so we'll leave this open here for just a few more seconds there. Thank you. Okay. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and share the results with you here, and it looks like a majority of us, again, would like to participate in some testing of Google Chrome. So that's great. What you can do is, this is going to lead me to the open communication that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this for you. If you wanted to stay up to date on when Chrome OS will be released and how you can participate in that and learning more about Chrome OS, a great place to do that is on our Dido blog here, which we will be posting events on and new updates and release great items of information there. And it's blog.didoweb.com. We also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DidoLLC, and we again post very important information there and updates and just really good, interesting information. We're also available on Twitter. You can follow us at DidoWeb and also at DidoTrainer. And the YouTube channel that we have here, it's youtube.com/DidoLLC. This is where this particular webinar that we performed today will be posted shortly. And if you needed to ever reference that again, if you wanted to brush up on some of those Chrome tips that we showed you there, you'll be able to access it that way as well. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to any questions that you may have. And what you could do, if you did have a question, you can simply raise your hand with the raise hand icon on the side panel, or simply enter your question in the questions panel, and my colleagues and I will go ahead and answer those for you. Okay, I see we do have a question here. And Andre, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you here. Hi, Andre. Can you hear me today?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you. If you had a question, go ahead and ask away.
Yeah, I can't access my Google Calendar through the apps. I can only access it with my personal account.
Okay.
The extension.
Oh, the extension. Okay. And what have you done there? If you want to just take us to the steps of what you were doing during the webinar, maybe we can troubleshoot it there for you.
Okay, I installed it, and then I logged in, but it only accepted my personal Gmail, not my Google Apps Gmail or email.
Okay.
And then that's it.
I wonder if there is a configuration setting that allows extensions to work with a Google Apps account. That's something I'd have to go back and look at, but I do believe that there's something there where your administrator, and I don't know if you are the administrator there, but there may be a setting that you may have to change in order to share things like calendar information, because the way that the extension is communicating, it might not be able to go out and grab that information.
Okay, yeah. All right. I think one of the settings I have is like view busy or available only. That's it.
Yeah, so and that's a great point, and something that I should have pointed out is that there's some calendar security settings there that you may need to change if that's something that you want to have implemented there.
Okay.
Awesome, Andre. Great question. Thank you very much. And one thing I also wanted to mention is we're going to be following up with everybody that attended today's webinar with some useful, kind of like a follow-up as to what we discussed, and with some great links there that you can find some additional information on too. So if there were some things that you saw, we're going to have it to you in writing as well. So we'll get that out to you later this afternoon. And I see that we do have another question. Thanks, Andre, for that. And we're going to go ahead and Jonathan, can you hear us, Jonathan?
Hi.
Hey, perfect. We can hear you if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. Is there any chance that Google Chrome would have the capability to also sync the apps that we have? Like, yes, currently Google Chrome allows us to sync your extensions, your bookmarks, your themes, and whatnot. But one of the main features why most of us, I think, use Chrome is because of the apps. Any chance that the development team would be able to also sync the applications as well?
Are you referring to the data within the applications?
No, I mean the applications themselves. Like for my my Chrome, I have like tons of rows of things. Like
Sure.
for the Google shortcuts, and then I also have my tweet deck. I have, and of course sometimes I have my games like
Sure.
Fancy Pants and all of that. Is there any way in the future, like right now, to be able to sync that as well?
Now, I just want to be clear, and I brought this up in the screen here. So I've got my apps here. This is what you're referring to, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
You want to be able to sync that. Now, let me jump in there because there are a ton of options. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of syncing options, and so let me try to customize this. And there is the ability to do that. Is it just not working for you?
Ah, okay.
It may have to do also with your version that you're using.
I see.
I don't know what version you might be at, but and this is one thing that you'll notice, and it's a perfectly great question. And one thing I do want to point out is, especially if you guys are Google Apps users, Chrome is the same kind of thing where they're doing a lot of work. There's a huge team working. I believe one of the members of the Chrome team working on this, and they said it wasn't enough people to fit into a building. So things are changing really quickly. Just like if you try to keep track of what's going on with Google Apps, and I think that's a great reason why we have somebody to kind of be here to address some of these issues that are going on with Chrome, because there's just so much going on. And like Matt said, I'm pretty excited about the fact that I've tried to create a reference guide that you all get after this, so that if this was a lot of information, you'll have everything with links and everything like that, so you can have some more information if this was a little overwhelming, or if you want to know how to run something in a VM or anything like that. So, but thank you for that question. I appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan. And we're going to go ahead and keep the session going here. So if you did have any general questions about Google Apps or about Google Chrome, please feel free to go ahead and ask those questions. You can raise your hand or simply enter the question into the questions panel, and we can answer it that way as well. Okay. Well, it looks like we don't have any further questions at this time. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I thought it was a great presentation, very useful information. And we will be following up with you about some of the reference points from today's presentation. And also, at the end of this session, once you leave, you'll be prompted with a quick survey. It's only 5 short questions. It should take less than a minute to fill out. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and filling that out, just some general questions about our training, and we really appreciate that. So thank you again, and keep an eye out for the next announcement for the month of May's webinar. We'll go ahead and keep you posted on the topic, and we'd love to have you join us for that as well. So thanks again. It was an absolute pleasure. We really do appreciate it. And again, this video will be posted on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DitoLLC. Daniel, thank you very much for your presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We'll go ahead and end today's session. So thanks again, guys. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.